Eric Burgess here with Music Marketing TV. Today we're checking out Paragon by NUGEN Audio. Now, Paragon is a convolution reverb plugin, but it's really unique in that it gives you the ability, if you come over here to the IR panel, to control the size of the space as well as the decay profile of this space. So these are not common things you run into very often inside a convolution reverb. It really shines in surround sound work. So I'm going to be doing stuff in stereo here just to give you a taste of what it sounds like. It's actually almost instantly become my go-to reverb. It sounds really, really, really good. And let's just go ahead and demo it on a piano first. And let's go to a couple other settings and toss it on there and see what we can get to come out of it. And let's just jump from right there. So here I've got this piano part. Let's go ahead and bring the mix down to like halfway. And before we do anything, let's go ahead and bypass it. All right, so that's what we're working with. Now, in the center, you can get some visuals of what the reverb's doing. Again, this is really geared for surround sound. So we're just going to go ahead and we are going to turn this on. And let's just flip through a few presets first. Maybe bring down the mix a bit on this one. All right, now if we come in here, so there's a couple general controls on the front. So you can change the decay in general. These controls are global. So if, for example, if I change this frequency, the high pass, low pass filter, this is going to be true for all the channels. And so in this case, I only have left to right. So that's all I'm going to be doing. We could change the size and the brightness right here. So some controls you've kind of come to expect. But if we open up the IR panel, you're given where the good stuff is. This is where it gets pretty crazy. I only come in here if I want to just really quick try out an idea. Most of the time, I can set up it on main and dial in whatever I want and then just move on. It's extremely fast to work with. But if we come into IR, we're given two areas that we can sort of see here. So the bottom here represents the loudness, and this is basically the impulse response. You can load different impulse responses. So for example, we could try out the chamber impulse response. And you can add a node here and basically EQ the intensity response is what this is. So if we go ahead and play this, we could change this to go from a bell to a low shelf. Maybe we want it higher. We could add another node. You just double click to add a node. I believe you can have up to 4 of them. We could bring this up a little bit, like over here, maybe see if we can get some cool node. Add some presence. A little bit more nasally. This kind of stuff's really useful if you want something to pop out of a mix. A lot of times we don't think of reverb as doing something like that, but this can actually do a great job at doing stuff like that. And then if we come over, we can also change the decay profile. So we can make these ring out a whole lot longer. Maybe we make these really short and we bring these up. There's a couple other controls on here. The main one that I'm usually grabbing, because most of the work I do is in stereo, is the complexity knob. So this just reduces computational load. It's just not as realistic because these are modeled IRs. Like these are extra fancy impulse responses. So it's given like a model for these different spaces, and then it would generate an impulse response for that. So there's no time stretching or anything like that to generate these different spaces. They're like completely modeled, which is why it sounds as good as it does. Let's go over, let's see how big the difference would really be. So here's no complexity, 0. And here is all the complexity. I've yet to come across a situation where this has made a big enough impact that I was like, oh, wow. But always worth sort of just pushing around. I'm going to go ahead and reset everything. We can go back to right where we are. Now we have some demo sounds that they already have prepared so you can quickly hear what things are going to sound like. Stuff like that. So you know, you get some singing. Yep. All that kind of stuff. To wrap it up here, we also have the I/O, so you can get all the independent controls. So on the main, right, these are all the global ones. If you want to do stuff per channel, you can. And what's really, really nice is when you are working with multi-channel audio, you can control the crosstalk as a per channel thing. So you can actually turn it off on channels where it would be an issue. The low frequency effect channel, for example, is one that you probably don't want crosstalk on, and those sorts of things. Let's go to another sound here. I'm just going to get rid of this, because I can't remember if I'm using this sound on another track. Let's go to our first example. So this example has a lot of like short percussive elements in it. So let's find that little plucky thing. This thing. Let's go ahead and add a Paragon to it. And let's go for, okay. So when you're working with this, you can go for a preset. I actually typically won't. So you can come in here, choose a preset, whatever. What I'll do is I'll dig through an IR of something that I think is similar to what I want. And so let's just say, let's just go for Glass Diner for this particular example. Why not? And then I'll come back to main. And once I have my IR selected, I just go ahead, dial in the mix to something that would be probably what I want, somewhere in the middle for now. That was before. That's after. I'm fine with the filtering, decay. Let's bring the decay up some. Why not? Yeah, I think it actually was fine where it's at. And now here, this is an extra bit that sometimes I do, sometimes I won't. I'll mess with the amplitude and decay scales. So for the decay, might be interesting to see, you know, what we can get out right here. This would probably create mud in this particular example. And one thing I will do is I'm going to go ahead and add a low shelf and just, you know, take away some of that stuff. We don't want that. And same for the decay. We'll just hit it with the double whammy here. So now it's extra not there. And let's go ahead and let's make this one a high shelf instead of a bell. And we'll bring this one up a little bit. We could have also alternatively, instead of doing it that way, we could go back to main and just adjust the brightness control. And let's go ahead, let's hear this in context. Here it is bypassed. Enabled. So on and so forth. Let's go over here to this clap. Where are you? This clap right here. Let's add one to there. Let's dial in something for this one. Again, typically I'm in the range of like 20 to 30%, sometimes lower. Unless you're using this as a send effect, then obviously it'll be at 100. So for the clap, doesn't really matter this low stuff. So instead of doing all the stuff I did before, we could just bring this up. That would also be a way of dealing with it. Something that, so getting short sounds to sound good, or in like a small space, that's where you get all this flutter usually. This is the reason I grab it so much, is it sounds fantastic on stuff like this. It has the ability to just push stuff and mellow them out. It's almost like if an EQ, I wish an EQ could do this, but it seems to be like a property of reverbs that really just excel at this sort of softening of a sound. And just the ability to just place it in a space, man, is so dang cool. And have it sound this good in a short space, because these short sounds are where I think it's the most troublesome. I think it's easier to do stuff with piano and vocal than it is for some of these like really, really percussive transient sounds. We'll bring the size way down. Versus big. Yeah, that's just wow. Super, super, super cool. Again, aimed at multi-channel stuff. Let's go for one more example here. So I've got a third one. This one's got some vibes. Our sub is way too loud. All right, let's go for these vibes. Let's add a Paragon to the vibes. Let's see what we can get out of this. This time, let's go for a preset. Let's try out Hotel Corridor. Why not? If you go for the car interior, I can't remember if that's what it's called, but the impulse response that's got car in the title, you can do some really, really neat stuff with the remapping of the decay envelope, the decay profile. I was messing with that earlier, and the car one was especially good at it. Just a heads up in case you dig through it some. Bring the brightness up. Let's try a small size and a very short reverb. And let's bring our mix down to like 37%. Now we'll keep the decay short, but we'll bring the size way up. Let's just see what we can get here. Bring the trim down for that one. We'll go for the maxed out. That's a pretty dang cool effect. Now we'll bring the size way down and keep the decay way up. Maybe we'll dial this back up. So that gives you an idea of some of the powers of Paragon. It is extremely flexible. If you have any questions about what you've seen here, feel free to drop a comment down below. Subscribe and hit that bell icon for future videos. And have a blessed day.